Today is March 28th, 2018. We are at the St. Francis Retreat Center with Bhante Vimalaramsi, and tonight Bhante is going to discuss MN128, the Upakkilesa Sutta.
Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Kosambi in Gosita's park. Now on that occasion the monks at Kosambi had taken to quarreling and brawling and were in deep disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. Then a certain monk went to the Blessed One, after paying homage to him, stood at one side, and said, "Venerable Sir, the monks at Kosambi have taken to quarreling and brawling and were in deep disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. It would be good, Venerable Sir, if the Blessed One would go to those monks out of compassion." The Blessed One consented in silence. Then the Blessed One went to those monks and said, "Enough, monks, let there be no quarreling, brawling, wrangling, or disputes." When this was said, a certain monk said to the Blessed One, "Wait, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One, the Lord of the Dhamma, live at ease, devoted to a pleasant abiding here and now. We are the ones who will be responsible for this quarreling, brawling, wrangling, and dispute." I couldn't imagine saying that to the Buddha. I just couldn't do it. A second time and a third time the Blessed One said, "Enough, let there be no quarreling, brawling, wrangling, or dispute." A second time and a third time that monk said to the Blessed One, "Wait, Venerable Sir, we are the ones who will be responsible for this quarreling, brawling, wrangling, and dispute." Then, when it was morning, the Blessed One, dressed, taking his bowl and outer robe, entered Kosambi for alms. When he'd wandered for alms in Kosambi and had returned, after his meal he set his resting place in order, took his bowl and outer robe, while standing uttered these stanzas. The Buddha never stood and said things. It was showing his displeasure by his standing and not sitting down. When many voices shout at once, none considers himself a fool. Though the Sangha is being split, none thinks himself to be at fault. They have forgotten thoughtful speech. They talk obsessed by words alone. Uncurbed their mouths, they brawl at will. None knows what leads him to so act. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never be appeased. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who do not harbor such thoughts like these, hatred will always be appeased. For in this world, hatred is never overcome by further acts of hate. It is overcome by non-hatred. This is a fixed law, eternal law. Those who do not recognize that here you should restrain ourselves, but those wise ones who realize this at once end all enmity. breaker of bones and murderers, those who steal cattle, horses, wealth, those who pillage entire realms. Even these can act together. Why should you not do so too? If you can find a worthy friend, a virtuous, steadfast companion, then overcome all threats of danger and walk with him content and mindful. But if one finds no worthy friend, virtuous and steadfast companion, then as a king leaves a conquered realm, walk like a tusker in the woods alone. For it's better to walk alone with no companionship with fools. Walk alone and do no evil, at ease like a tusker in the woods. Now these monks that were quarreling and brawling and stabbing each other with verbal daggers, they were fighting over trivial ideas that it was not worth fighting over. But the Buddha had already promised the people of Kosambi that he was going to be there for 3 months. And when he left, everybody at Kosambi got mad at those monks and they would not support them. They didn't give them any food. And they relied on people giving them food. So after a period of time, they decided maybe it was better to stop arguing and quarreling and get a little bit of support anyway. But they had a rough 3 months. They were a lot thinner than when they started out, let's put it that way. Then, having uttered these stanzas while standing, the Blessed One went to another village. On that occasion, the Venerable Bhagu was living at the village. When the Venerable Bhagu saw the Blessed One coming in the distance, he prepared a seat, set out water for washing his feet. The Blessed One sat down on a seat made ready and washed his feet. The Venerable Bhagu paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. The Blessed One said to him, "I hope you are keeping well, monk. I hope you are comfortable. I hope you're not having any trouble getting alms food." "I am keeping well, Blessed One. I am comfortable, and I'm not having any trouble getting alms food." Then the Blessed One instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened the Venerable Bhagu with the talk on the Dhamma, after which he rose from his seat and went to the eastern bamboo park. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Nandiya, and the Venerable Kimbila were living at the eastern bamboo park. The park keeper saw the Blessed One coming in the distance and told him, "Do not enter this park, recluse. There are 3 clansmen here seeking their own good. Do not disturb them." The Venerable Anuruddha was Ananda's older brother. The Venerable Anuruddha heard the park keeper speaking to the Blessed One and told him, "Friend park keeper, do not keep the Blessed One out. It is our teacher, the Blessed One, who has come." Then the Venerable Anuruddha went to the Venerable Nandiya and the Venerable Kimbila and said, "Come out, Venerable Sirs, come out. Our teacher, the Blessed One, has come." Then all 3 went to meet the Blessed One. One took his bowl and outer robe. One prepared a seat and set out water. And one set out water. The Blessed One sat down on the seat, made ready, and washed his feet. Then the three venerable ones paid homage to the Blessed One, sat down at one side, and the Blessed One said to them, I hope you're keeping well, Anuruddha. I hope you are comfortable. I hope you are not having any trouble getting alms food. We are keeping well, Blessed One. We are comfortable, and we're not having any trouble getting alms food. I hope, Anuruddha, that you are all living in concord, in mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. Surely, Venerable Sir, we are living in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. But Anuruddha, how do you live thus? Venerable Sir, as to that, I think thus, it is a gain for me, it is a great gain for me that I'm living with such companions in the holy life. I maintain bodily acts of loving kindness towards these venerable ones, both openly and privately. I maintain verbal acts of loving kindness toward them, both openly and privately. I maintain mental acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. I consider, why should I not set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do? Then I set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do. We're different in body, Venerable Sir, but one in mind. The Venerable Nandya and the Venerable Kimbila each spoke likewise, adding, that is how, Venerable Sir, we're living in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. I've got to move this out of the way. Good, Anuruddha. I hope you all abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. That means that he's asking them if they're doing any meditation. Good, Anuruddha. I hope you are all abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. Surely, Venerable Sir, we abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. But Anuruddha, how do you abide thus? Venerable Sir, as to that, whichever of us returns first from the village with alms food, prepares the seat, sets out the water for drinking and for washing, and puts the refuge bucket in its place. Whichever of us returns last, eats any food left over if he wishes, otherwise he throws it away. Now, this is one thing that I refused to do when I was in a small village that was very, very poor, because they would give me the food that they had for themselves for the day. And I'm not about to throw that food away. So I put it on a tray and took the tray back into the village and let other people eat it. And I got criticized pretty heavily for that. But in my mind, I started saying, I don't care. I don't care. You can criticize me all you want. I'm not going to let this food go to waste. Especially because the people that donated the food, that was their food for the day. So I'm going to let them go hungry and throw the food on the ground? Let animals eat it? No, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, he puts away the seats and the water for drinking and for washing. He puts away the refuge bucket after washing it and sweeps out the refectory. Whoever notices that the pots of water for drinking and washing or for the latrine are low or empty, takes these. If they're too heavy for him, he calls someone else by a signal of the hand, and we move by joining our hands. But because of that, we do not break out into speech. But every 5 days, we sit together all night discussing the Dhamma. That is how we abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. Good, Anuruddha, but while you abide thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, have you attained any superhuman states, a distinction of knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones, a comfortable abiding? Now he's asking them if they've gotten into jhana. And it appears that they didn't really understand the practice very well because they weren't able to get into the jhanas with the way they were practicing. One of the biggest problems that people, when they first start doing the meditation, is having hindrances arise that pull their attention away from your object of meditation. Where do hindrances come from? Why do you have hindrances arise? And the answer to that is, these hindrances arise because in the past you broke precepts. You tell somebody that you're going to do something, and then in your mind you know full well you're not going to do it. That's telling a lie. Using coarse and unpleasant speech, cursing, is breaking a precept. Anytime you break a precept of any kind, it causes your mind to feel guilty. And you start taking it personally. I did that. So when a hindrance arises, what is the hindrance? The hindrance is something that pulls your attention away from what you're doing while you're doing it, and you get caught up in thinking this and that. So it's real important to understand that when the Buddha talked about what meditation is, he said there's 3 things that you have to really understand. One is, the first part of meditation is practicing your generosity. Now this doesn't necessarily mean material stuff. This means saying things that are pleasant for other people, that make other people feel good. It means smiling and giving your smile away to other people. It means keeping your speech light. And other people start paying attention to you much more when you do that. One of the things with foul language is that is showing everybody else how dissatisfied you are in your own mind. So that seems to be one of the favorite things that's on television these days, this kind of speech that is really foul. It doesn't bring happiness to other people when they hear it. And you can say, well, it's only a joke, but it's not. You're breaking a precept. It's not funny. So, watching what you're saying and getting into gossip. What is gossip? Gossip is making up stories about other people that's not very nice. It doesn't mean you can't talk about other people, but you start visualizing they're standing right beside you and whatever you're saying they would be happy with. That means you're not gossiping anymore. And this is a very important thing. Not stealing from somebody else, not killing living beings. And it seems to be in this day and age, if you have an animal that's very sick and you know the animal is going to die, you take him to the vet and kill him. Oh, they're putting them to sleep. Let's put it that way. But that's still killing them. And I've heard some people give Dhamma talks where they say, well, it's okay to do that because you're ending their suffering. Every being wants to live as long as they possibly can. If you take an animal to a vet so that they give them a shot and kill them, look at what's going through your own mind. And look at the fear you have of suffering. Because you're giving in to that. And that's going to come back at you. Every time you break a precept, it comes back to you because you did it to yourself. So a mind that's really restless is a mind that's guilty. I broke the precept, I did something, I caused somebody else some harm. And it's pretty much overlooked in this country. If you go and do a retreat, sometimes you'll hear people, they say, okay, we'll take the precepts in Pali, that you don't understand what you're saying, and just do that one time. Now you've purified your mind. Well, that's not quite it. Now I want you to be taking the precepts every day. Why? To keep it in mind. That's why you need to keep these precepts. Your meditation will be much better, and your mind will become very calm very quickly when you keep the precepts without breaking them. Keeping the precepts is a kind of protection for you. Now, there's some places in the suttas that it talks about the kind of protection you have when you keep the precepts. You're not going to die from an accident. You're not going to die an unnatural death. Everybody dies, but it will be naturally. It won't be a sudden shock to you that you die. And there's an expression that really is true. When you take care of the Dhamma takes care of you. When you keep your precepts without breaking them, everything becomes easier. And a lot of very nice things start happening for you. That comes from keeping the precepts. It's not, it's only morality. This is something that's very real. Now, the hindrances, we've all broken hindrances at some point, maybe this lifetime, maybe last lifetime. But it's always going to come back as a hindrance when you're trying to purify your mind. Now, the thing with the hindrances is that when they arise, they are being your teachers. They're showing you where you have an attachment, where you've taken something personally. I am that. So when a hindrance arises and you use the 6 R's, you recognize that your mind is distracted, you release the distraction. How do you release it? By not keeping your attention on it. You relax the tightness caused by that distraction. That tightness, what is that? What is craving? How do you recognize craving when it arises? How do you let it go? When I was in India, that was the first thing I would start talking about when I gave a talk to whoever it was. Almost everybody came up with the idea that craving is desire. I want something. No, that's not craving. That's not a good definition of craving. Now, you have 5 aggregates, okay? You have a physical body. You have feeling. Feeling is not emotion. Feeling is pleasant, painful, neither painful nor pleasant. You have perception. Perception is a part of the mind that names the feeling. When a painful feeling arises, your mind says, that hurts, that's painful. When a pleasant feeling arises, your mind says, that's good, I like that. Okay, so perception is a part of the mind where concepts arise. You have formations and you have consciousness. When a painful feeling arises, perception says, that hurts, that's painful. And what do? You wind up thinking about that painful feeling, how you don't like it, how you want it to stop, how you want it to go away. And when it doesn't, then you try harder. And when you try harder, you start putting more energy into wanting to control that feeling. But what you're doing is a feeling comes up and you're trying to think the feeling away. Now, the truth is, feelings are one thing and thoughts are something else. The more you get involved in thinking about a painful thing or a pleasant thing, the bigger it becomes. The more of a distraction it becomes. You're causing yourself a lot more pain because you're trying to think this feeling away. So what do? Use the 6 R's. Recognize it, release it. Don't keep your attention on it. Don't get involved in your thinking about. Relax the tightness. That tightness is craving. Now, your brain has two different parts to it. Actually, there's three, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But there's a membrane that goes around your brain. It's called the meninges. Every time you have a thought, every time there's a feeling, every time there's a sensation that arises, your brain expands. And it hits the meninges, and there's tension and tightness in your head. Now, when I say relax, what I'm telling you to do is let go of that. Let go of that craving mind. Let it be. Relax, and you can actually feel the tension starting to go away. When you relax that tension and tightness, excuse me, you're actually starting to purify your mind. You'll notice right after that relaxed step, you don't have any thoughts in your mind. Your mind is clear, your mind is very alert, your mind is very much at ease. And your mind is pure. Why is it pure? Because you've let go of craving. So when you use the 6 R's, you're learning how to let go of that wrong idea in a personal self. And you let go of the attachment to it. Now, the last 3 parts of the 6 R's is you have to bring up something wholesome. Smile. And this is something I get criticized for, actually. Can you believe that? Meditation is supposed to be serious. Well, I'll tell you right here and now. I want you to smile, I want you to laugh, I want you to have fun. Well, meditation's not fun. I just talked with a man that has a very, very pure mind. And I asked him, what's in your mind? Nothing. No disturbances. Mind very clear, very alert, so he has mindfulness. He doesn't have anything pulling his attention away, so he has good collectedness of mind. And he has loving kindness in his mind. Now, wouldn't you like to live like that? I mean, really. Not having anger arise, not ever getting upset. His mind had excellent balance in it. He didn't get excited about anything. Well, what relief is that? When you smile, your mind becomes light. Your mind becomes even more alert. It improves your mindfulness. What is mindfulness? I was at a conference on mindfulness. I was one of the last people that gave a talk there. All of these people got up and they're talking about mindfulness. And when I got up and started talking, the first question I asked was, everybody's been talking about mindfulness today. What is it? No answer. What is mindfulness? Come on, you've been listening for 2 days. No real answer. So I said, I'm going to give you a definition of mindfulness that works 100% of the time. Mindfulness is remembering to observe how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. That's what mindfulness is. It's your observation power of how your mind's attention moves. Now, this is actually a very, very deep definition, because when you see how mind's attention moves, you start to see that this is part of a process that's impersonal. You're starting to see that I didn't ask this thought to come up. It came up by itself. This distraction came up by itself. So, if it came up by itself, is it your thought? Is it your distraction? Do you have to take it personally and try to own it and control it? No, the truth is, when a thought arises, it's there by itself. What are you going to do with that? Let it be. You recognize it, let it be, relax, and smile. So you're mindful, and every time you do this, every time you relax that tension and tightness in your head, in your mind, you're purifying your mind more and more. You're letting go of that hindrance that caused this to arise. And your mind becomes more happy, especially when you have a smile in it. Now, I've done lots of meditation retreats. When I say lots, I mean I started counting up the time that I've spent doing a retreat. And it's turned out to be roughly 5 years without a break. If I put all of them together, I've done a lot of retreats. And for the first 20 years of my practice, nobody ever told me that I'm supposed to let go of a hindrance and let it be there by itself and relax and smile and come back to my object of meditation. Nobody's ever told me that until I started reading about it in the suttas. It's real important to understand that this is the practical way that the Buddha taught meditation. And it's a difference with almost everybody else's teaching. There's so many different forms of meditation. The only meditation that I know of that has a relaxed step in it is the way the Buddha taught it. But there's people that say, I'm doing Buddhist meditation, and they don't have any relaxed step. And what happens for them is they'll go along and there'll be some advantage of doing the meditation, and then there's not any progress in their meditation anymore. They hit a wall. And I know people that have been practicing meditation for 30 years, and they're just do a retreat. They'll do a 1-month retreat once a year because that's what they got in the habit of doing, but they don't progress. They don't go deeper in their meditation. Now, there's something that's not quite right about that. And hindrances. I know a man he's been teaching meditation for longer than most of us have been alive, and he still has hindrances arising, and he still gets caught by those hindrances. He'll have fear or anxiety or anger coming up, and he's not able to see it because he's identifying with it so much, because he hasn't let go of that craving. Let go of that tension and tightness in his mind, in his body. The 6 R's are right effort. This is what it is in the Eightfold Path. I added a couple little things. What I added was recognize and relax. What is, according to the suttas, what is right effort? Right effort is it is part of recognize, but you don't notice it like that. But it's recognizing something unwholesome arising. What is unwholesome? Anything you identify with personally. This is my thought, this is my feeling, this is my way of thinking. This is my attachments. Anything you take personally is unwholesome. Why? Because it's not the truth. It's because you're taking it personally and you're trying to control these thoughts and feelings with identifying with them, with taking them and holding them. And this is me, this is my anger, this is my anxiety, this is my fear. And then you get caught up in that. And the more you try to control it, the more you try to think that feeling away, the bigger and more intense that feeling becomes. And the more you cause suffering to yourself. And you can't blame anybody else for your suffering. You do it to yourself. You break a precept, you're going to have suffering. That's a promise. Might not be tomorrow, it might be 5 years from now, but you're still going to have suffering. You're still going to have that mind that is taking it personally and trying to control it and wish that you didn't have this anger come up all the time, or sadness come up all the time, or anxiety, or whatever the catch of the day is. When you use right effort, you are letting go of that attachment, that one extra step of relaxing. See, the first part of right effort is recognizing that you have something that's blocking you, that's taking you away from your object of meditation. The next is to release it and relax. Okay? How many times have you heard, if you've come across people that are practicing meditation, cling to nothing? Well, what does cling to nothing mean? It means don't think about it. But you are going to think about it because you don't put the relaxed step with it. It's not don't cling to nothing, it's crave and cling to nothing. That's how you purify your mind. The next part of right effort, bring up something wholesome. Smile. It improves your mindfulness immeasurably. I give lots of retreats in a year. Lots. And people will come after the first day or two of the retreat and they'll tell me that their mind is all over the place. I have so much restlessness. I have so many problems. I'm not really doing what I should be doing, is basically what they're saying. And you know what I tell them? You're not smiling. You're taking all of this stuff very, very seriously. Now, what did I just say a little while ago? I want you to smile, I want you to laugh, I want you to have fun. Well, that's not meditation. Actually, it is. When I was talking to this man, I said, okay, you don't have any disturbances in your mind. So what? What else is happening? He He said, well, not really much of anything, except it's fun. Well, meditation's supposed to be serious. I know, I've done a lot of meditating. I've been in a group of people that are doing the meditation, and they all have frowns on their face. That means it's got to be serious, and you have to try harder. Well, actually, that's backwards. I've had some students that after they did a retreat with me, they went to someplace else and do a retreat, and they got kicked out of the retreat because they were smiling. Well, you can't smile here. This is serious. But what does smiling do? It makes your mind light. It makes your mindfulness very clear. Your mind becomes very agile when it's light. So you can start to see when you start getting pulled down a little bit by a hindrance when it comes up, and you can let go of it more easily. So smiling is really an important part of the meditation. And the Buddha said, we're the happy ones. Now, are you going to be a happy one with a frown on your face all the time? I don't think so. How much do you beat yourself up? How many times do you do something that your mind says, that wasn't good? And then you start criticizing yourself and becoming down on yourself. One time I was giving a retreat, and this man, he was so hard on himself. It was just remarkable. So I told somebody to go out and buy me some boxing gloves. And I gave them to him. And I said, put these on. He said, why? I said, you're beating yourself up so much, it won't hurt quite as bad if you have a glove on. And it didn't even faze him. So I told him, okay, this is really hurting, right? You have this hindrance coming up and it's really, really painful. And he said, yeah. I said, okay, I want you to take your shoes off. Take your socks off. I want you to walk outside, find a nice, sturdy tree, and kick it as hard as you can with your toes. And he said, why would I want to do that? And I said, well, you're beating yourself up anyway. You're causing yourself all this pain. You might as well get into it. And that made him laugh. And as soon as he laughed, he didn't have that hindrance anymore. Oh, that's what smiling's about. That's what laughing with how crazy your mind can be, with how you get caught up with these things. Who was it that told you when you were a little kid, okay, from today on, you got to be serious. And you need to criticize yourself a lot. Well, every time you criticize yourself, do you think that's a wholesome thought? Or is it unwholesome? Are you causing yourself more pain and suffering? Or are you letting it go? You have to learn to accept the fact that you're gonna make mistakes. And you have to forgive yourself for making a mistake. And don't do it again. And start to be kind to yourself. Start to laugh with yourself because you're beating yourself up. See, the thing with smiling and the thing with laughing, especially laughing, is that if you're angry and you laugh at yourself for being angry, you go from, I'm mad and I don't like it, to, well, it's only this anger. Did you ask the anger to come up? No. Is it yours? Well, no, not really. Are you taking it personally? Sure. Why? Because that's the way we're supposed to do it, right? No, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to learn from your mistakes and don't do them again. Laughing is the fastest way to let go of an attachment. At least, that's what I think. Why do I know that? Because I do with myself. I laugh at myself for getting caught up in this drama, in this pain, in this suffering. I laugh. How stupid my mind is. It's amazing. Because I want to take everything personally and blame myself and cause myself much more suffering. Well, that's not what the meditation's about. The meditation's about learning to relax and smile and have fun. Oh, this is a lot different than any other Dhamma talk I've ever heard, right? But this is what works. And it's not a maybe. I mean, this really, really does work. So if you want to progress in your meditation, smile. I don't care what you're doing. Smile. Have fun with what you're doing. Turn it into a game. Being serious doesn't work so good. That just causes more suffering, right? Can you play with it? Look at a little 3-year-old kid. Oh, they can run around and fall down and they'll cry for a minute and get up. Before long, they're running around, playing and having fun again. Why don't we? Why are we taking life so seriously? Because we're taking it, everything that arises, personally. And when a hindrance arises, we take that as, this is my hindrance, this is my anger, this is my greedy mind. This is my restlessness. And the longer you keep that as a hindrance, the longer you hold on to it and keep it personally, the more you're going to suffer. So having a smiling mind is particularly important. I mean, with the men that I was just talking to today, I asked him some pretty direct questions about what's happening in his mind. I have equanimity. I have this balance. I don't get excited about anything. Well, he's doing it right. But you make a mistake or you run across something that's a problem. What do you think about? The problem or the solution? How many people do you know that feel helpless? Life is beating me down. There's so many things that are happening that cause so much suffering. I'm going to give you a secret. What I talked to you about last night with loving kindness, if you really practice loving kindness, you're never going to be helpless. You can always radiate loving kindness to yourself. You can radiate loving kindness into a situation. You can radiate loving kindness to other people that are suffering. You're never helpless until you start thinking about all the problems and how much you don't like those problems and how much you want these things to go away. The Buddha said we're the happy ones. So, doesn't that mean we should be happy? I mean, he was really the mind expert, and he thought it was a good thing. So the more you allow a hindrance to be, relax, smile, come back to your object of meditation, the less you fight with the hindrance and try to make it stop and make it go away, the easier it becomes to stay with your object of meditation for longer and longer periods of time. The better your mindfulness becomes, because you have that little smile in your mind. Smile in your mind. Smile with your eyes. Little smile on your lips. Smile in your heart. When you're serious, guess who has an attachment? Guess who's causing themselves suffering? Well, don't do that anymore. It's that simple. You cause yourself pain, you get angry because somebody else isn't doing things the way you want them to be done. What is that? Why get angry at something like that? Well, I get angry because I want it the way I want it when I want it that way. I. And how much suffering do you have? And how many times does that come back to you in a day when you have this attachment of, they didn't do it the way I said they should do it? And then you think about it a little while later, and all of a sudden, there's that same thought, same words, just like it's on a tape deck. Who has an attachment? Who's causing themselves suffering? I am. Why am I doing that? Because I'm not using the 6 R's. It's just that simple. You're taking everything personally, and it makes your mind tight. And you get headaches. Well, who's giving the headache? Who's causing that headache to arise? Who doesn't like that feeling? Who gets tighter and tighter and tries to control it more and more and have more and more suffering arise? You're doing it to yourself. You can't blame anybody else in the world for it. You are doing it to yourself. You're taking away your own happiness. You're taking away your ease of mind and equanimity. You know, when we talk about having hindrances arise and we take it personally, we don't have a balanced mind. We don't have an accepting mind. We have a mind that's not happy with the present moment because it doesn't meet my expectation. And we suffer. And we keep doing it over and over again to ourselves. Well, when you practice mindfulness in the correct way, it's remembering to observe how mind's attention moves from this to that. You're on your object of meditation, and all of a sudden you're over here thinking about What happened last week? Where'd that come from? Did you see that process? Did you see how your mind got pulled away? Did you see what arose first and what arose right after that and after that? Or did you just get caught up because this is the end result of that hindrance and that pain and that suffering? And you're taking it personally, and now I'm going to get in control. I'm going to make this pain go away. I'm going to come up with some kind of idea so I can distract myself so I don't have this pain. Does that work? I don't think so. We are the cause of our own suffering because of, what's the second noble truth? There is a cause of suffering. What is it? Craving. How do you recognize craving when it comes up? Craving is the I like it, I don't like it mind. It causes the tension and tightness to arise in your head and in your body. So, let it be. Relax. Smile. Bring that light, smiling mind back to your object of meditation. One of the biggest problems I have with people that have done other kinds of meditation and come and try this brand, if that's what it is everybody tries too hard. Well, I use the 6 R's and it's still there, so that means I gotta push harder. And that's exactly the opposite of what needs to happen. I gotta try harder because this is really a pain. Meditation pain is a blessing when it comes. What is meditation pain? That pain that arises in your backside or in your knee or in your back. And then when you get up and you start doing your walking meditation, it goes away after just a short period of time. That is a meditation pain. Why does meditation pain arise? Because you broke a precept in the past and you're taking it personally. When you start going deeper in your meditation, there's some meditation pains that can be pretty intense. You know, it really hurts. I couldn't stand it, so I had to get up and start moving. Who couldn't stand it? Who was fighting with it? Who was trying to make that pain stop and go away? I was. Oh, but it's so intense. Well, yeah. Can be if you have resistance to it, or you can develop your equanimity to it and just allow that pain to be there by itself. Not keep your attention on it, come back to your object of meditation and allow it to be there. It'll go away and it won't come back. I wish I would have had somebody tell me that when I was practicing a different kind of meditation. I had 15 years of the same hindrance. Like somebody stabbed my arm and they pulled the knife down and then they twisted the blade. And it was intense. When I was sitting, I couldn't lift my arm up. That's how bad it was. And I had resistance to it. I didn't like it. And I was in Asia at the time, and they have a lot of Chinese herbs and remedies for painful things. So I was filling myself up with these kind of things. There's a menthol oil that's real good for painful muscles if you if you have stress or pull a muscle. And I was putting that stuff on so heavy, it was unbelievable, and it didn't work. Until I was so tired of having that pain arise, I just went, I don't care anymore. It's not that important. And it went away by itself and never came back. When I stopped taking it personally, when I stopped trying to make it be the way I wanted it to be. So I understand meditation pain. I understand it very intimately. So when you come and tell me you have a meditation pain and how intense it was, I'm not going to give you any sympathy because you're doing it to yourself. You're not allowing that sensation, that pain, to be there by itself. When it arises, what happens? Thoughts. I don't like it. I want it to stop. Oh, here it is again. This is really, I'm tired of it. Why doesn't it just go away on its own? And I'm fighting with the truth when I was doing that. And I was trying to control the truth to be the way I wanted it to be, not allowing it to be the way it is. Anytime you try to control the truth, anytime you try to change the truth, anytime you try to make the truth be what you want it to be, you're fighting with reality. You're fighting with the Dhamma. And you're causing yourself so much suffering. So, what needs to be done? Let go of that tight mental fist around that sensation, whatever it happens to be. Just let it be there. The truth is, it's there. You're fighting with it, doesn't help it get any better. So just let it be there by itself. Don't keep your attention on it. That's the release step, isn't it? And then relax into it. It'll go away by itself when you've let go of your attention on it. When you let go of that want to control it. So there's a lot of different kinds of pain that we cause ourselves because we take things personally. And that's what a hindrance is all about. Now, when a hindrance arises, it is your teacher. It is showing you where you have an attachment. And what is that attachment? This is me, this is mine, this is my possession. And the truth is, you didn't ask that pain to come up. Nobody's going to be dumb enough to do that. You know, I haven't had a real pain in my back for a long time. I might as well have one now. It came up because conditions are right for it to come up. What you do with what arises in the present dictates what happens in the future. If you fight with the present, you try to control it, you can look forward to the future of more. Having it happen more, and getting caught in your dissatisfaction of the whole situation. It's not even your situation. It just arose by itself because of past action. So fighting with it, how much good is that going to do? None. So allow it to be there by itself. Don't keep your attention on it. There are some kinds of meditation, they say, well, just sit with it and observe it. And that's not right effort. That's not what the Buddha taught. He said, let it be there by itself. Don't keep watching it. Don't pretend that it's not something that's a distraction that's pulling you away from what your object of meditation is. Allow it to be. Relax, smile, come back to your object of meditation, stay with your object of meditation as long as you can. But that pain didn't go away. This is not a stick to beat the pain away. It's not a stick to control anything. The 6 R's have just one thing that it actually does, and that is purify your mind. How does it purify your mind? By letting go of the craving. It's not a control mechanism. So if it doesn't go away, then your mind's going to go back to that sensation or that hindrance, whatever it happens to be, so do it again. This is a process of play it again, Sam. Play it again. Do it again. Doesn't matter how many times. It will eventually fade away on its own when you lose the attachment to it. When you lose the want to control it, when you start purifying your mind by using the 6 R's every time your attention gets pulled away. Now, there's something that happens with people, especially when they're starting out with meditation. And they get a little over-enthusiastic with the 6 R's. And they try to 6R every thought that comes up. Even when their mind is staying on an object meditation, a thought comes up and they want to 6R and make it go away. And then they'll come to me and they'll start complaining about, I couldn't even let go of one hindrance before another one came up. Well, you're trying too hard. You're putting in too much effort. You stay on your object of meditation. If thoughts come up and they don't pull your attention away, ignore them. Only when your attention gets pulled away, that's where the craving is. So you don't try to use it as some kind of control mechanism. Sometimes some hindrances can come up and they can be tough. They can keep coming up for a while because your attachment to it is strong. Okay, fine. It doesn't matter. Don't make it matter. Don't make it a big deal in your mind. Every time you make something into a big deal, guess what keeps coming back? What your distraction is. You're going to keep seeing that. And you're causing it to come back because of you're holding on to it. You're taking it personally. Fear is a great example. When you have fear arise, whose fear is it? Whose heart is beating so fast? Whose mind is trying to make it, I want that to stop. I got to run away from that. I just can't stand it. Well, the truth is, it's a feeling, and it arose by itself. But then you started getting involved with it. You started taking it personally, and you came up with a reason that this fear is here. There's a boogeyman out there. He's going to eat me alive. and you have all this fear, well, you're making up a story about it. That's your habitual tendency when you get caught by craving, clinging. Then your habitual tendency comes up, and you always act this way when this feeling comes up. You have the same kind of thoughts when this feeling comes up. And you take it so personally that it turns just a regular feeling into an emergency. Now I got to get up and run away. I can't be with this. I'm really afraid. What is fear? Fear is a feeling, and it's a painful feeling. Is it yours? Do you have any control over that fear? No. It came up by itself. Nobody's going to say, I'm sitting real peaceful, but I think I haven't had any fear arise for a while. I need to have some fear. Are you going to do that to yourself? No. It's just a certain kind of feeling when it comes up, and that's the label we give it. But it's not yours personally. And when you can laugh with yourself with fear, you are not afraid anymore. Because you see, well, it's only this painful feeling. Do I want to carry this around with me for the rest of the day? No, not really. Let it go. Anxiety, same thing. Sadness, same thing. There are times when sadness can arise, and it can really, you can really get involved with it and take it personally and get caught up in the reasons for that fear to be there, or that sadness to be there, or that anxiety to be there, or that anger to be there. We always have some kind of excuse that we make so that we can justify getting involved with the hindrance. That was happening so much at one retreat, I started calling this retreat Excuse Central. Everybody had a yes, but. And it got so intense that I finally had to come out and say, we have a forbidden word, and that forbidden word is but. So get your but out of the way. Yes, but I tell you how to get rid of a hindrance, and yes, but I want to tell you more about how bad this is. No, I don't need to hear it. Stop with the but. Stop with the excuses. Stop with suffering that you're causing yourself. Yes, but no. I don't want to hear that. So this particular sutta is about overcoming hindrances. Now there can be sometimes a hindrance comes up and it's pretty intense, and you feel like there's some kind of deeper thing in there. You don't know what it is. So ask yourself a question. This is what the Buddha said. This is what they asked the Buddha first. Venerable Sir, as we abide diligent, ardent, and resolute, we perceive both radiance and the object of meditation. Soon afterwards, the radiance and object of meditation disappear. That means a hindrance arose. But we have not yet discovered the cause for that. the Buddha said, you should discover the cause for that, Anuruddha. Before my awakening, while I was still only an unawakened bodhisattva, I too perceived both radiance and object of meditation. Soon afterwards, the radiance and object of meditation disappeared. I thought, what is the cause and condition why this radiance and object of meditation have disappeared? That is a very important question to ask yourself. Why does this keep coming up? I'll give you a for instance of that. I had a student in Korea that was really going along very, very quickly, and I thought, he's going to get it. He's really close. And then all of his progress just stopped. And the next day he came in, and his progress had stopped, and he was starting to get angry at me like I did something to him. And I said, this is something that you have to ask yourself. What are you doing to cause your progress to stop? What are you doing? What's the cause of this stop of progress? So the next day he came in for the interview, and he's all radiant and glowing and happy. And I said, what did you find out when you ask yourself the question? He said, I've stopped waiting. He was waiting for Nibbana to occur. And that means that he had longing in his mind, which is a kind of craving. And he didn't see that that's what he was doing, and he was getting frustrated. So as soon as he discovered that, by asking himself the question, because you are your own teachers. I'm not a teacher, I'm a guide. I make sure you stay on the path. But you're teaching yourself all about how your own mind works and how you get caught up in the same kind of traps all the time. So when your mindfulness is sharp enough, you can start seeing that. But if it keeps happening, then ask yourself the question, why is this happening? Why can't I let go of this? What am I doing? Your intuition will tell you. And when your intuition tells you, then follow what it says. It's real easy to let go of waiting when you see that, well, my mindfulness dulled out. I was just sitting there, it's going to happen any time. Come on, come on. So asking yourself a question with a hindrance that's really a difficult thing to overcome is the way to learn how to let it go. So with this particular sutta, I'm not going to go through all of it, because it's the same question with whatever arises. There was fear in me. Why did this fear arise? And he asked himself the question, then he said, then I let go of the fear, and it didn't bother me anymore. Or restlessness, or sloth and torpor. I mean, it can be any hindrance, anything that's stopping your mind from going deeper. At one time, I was living at a meditation center where it was in a house, and the house was starting to fall apart. So I was the handyman taking care of things. And a man came and wanted to do a retreat. So the teacher came to me and he said, I want you to do the retreat with him so he doesn't do it alone. So, okay, fine. That's why I'm here, so I can learn more about meditation. And so I started meditating, and I started feeling very restless. And I'm not one that's real prone to a lot of restlessness. I'm more the lazy mind kind, the sloth and torpor kind. And after a day of having this restless mind, I was, boy, this is really strange. So the next day I got up in the morning, started doing the sitting. There it was again, restless. So I asked myself, why is this happening? And then I forgot about it. I forgot about the question. And an answer came to me. You don't really want to be sitting. You want to be fixing that window that's falling apart. And as soon as I saw that, I went, no, we're going to let that one go. And I didn't have any more restlessness. So I really know that this works. If you have a troublesome hindrance, please ask yourself the question. And especially when you start going deeper into meditation, because you start getting to more subtle and subtle kinds of hindrances that can be troublesome. Don't ask yourself the questions a dozen times. One time is enough. Your intuition will come whenever it comes. It might not be in your time frame, but the answer will come. And that's one of the important aspects of this particular sutta, is learning how to ask the question. So you can let go of the thing that keeps blocking you from going deeper. Another thing that is a big major hindrance is you're making a big deal out of things. Just like a meditation pain, you make a big deal out of it and then it's going to keep coming back because you're identifying with it, you're taking it personally, you're not really, you can say, yeah, I was 6Ring, but I was just doing it surface. I wasn't really doing it very much. The 6 R's is the key to success. Right effort is the key. Now, when the Buddha was talking about the Eightfold Path, he had these 8 different things that he was talking about. But when you practice right effort, when you practice using the 6 R's, you're practicing the entire Eightfold Path at that time. When you smile, you're practicing the entire Eightfold Path at that time. So why do you think I talk about smiling? Why do you think I talk about using the 6 R's so much? Because that's the key. That's the key to going deeper. And your progress is going to be very good. I'm used to having fast progress. Year before last, I had a man come for a retreat. He said, I've been doing serious meditation for 10 years. And I ran across one of your YouTubes, and I saw how you were teaching loving kindness, so I practiced it for 3 days before I came. The first day of the retreat, he became a Sotapanna. That's how fast this can work. By the end of a 10-day retreat, he had become an anagami with fruition. And I was very strongly suggesting to him, it's time to come to Missouri, it's time for you to take on the robes. And he said, I do want to take on the robes, but I have this financial problem. I have to take over first, and clean that away. So he might be coming for this range retreat, which would be nice if he did. I love being around people that are clear like that. They don't have any disturbances in their mind. They don't get upset about anything. They just have this light mind. Now, this man that was just here, I was asking him that when I realized that he'd gotten into becoming an anagami, we started asking him to sit longer and longer in the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. How many hours was it?
52.
52? Oh, only 52 hours without moving, without any thoughts in his mind. Well, why do you want to do that? Well, when he came out of that, his mind was radiant, alert, peaceful, calm, accepting of whatever is around without any disturbance in his mind. So I asked him, what's in your mind right now? And he said, well, my mind's, there's nothing there. There's no disturbance. What relief can that be? Oh, I've got to go do this. I got to go do that. I have to talk to this person. I have to do this. None of that. His mind was in the present moment very strongly. He had loving kindness, he had mindfulness, he had good collectedness of mind. How would you like to live like that for a day or two or 3 or 4? He's very active. He does a lot of book writing and things like that. And he got a job that he had to do on Saturday evening, and he stayed up all night, and he stayed up until 10 o'clock the next night. Then he took 2 hours sleep, got up, and finished the job. He'd only had 2 hours sleep since coming. And he was very alert and very happy, very calm. Why do you meditate? So you can have that kind of mind. Is it impossible? Absolutely, it is possible. If you follow the directions the way that they're given. You 6 are, come back to your object of meditation, stay with your object of meditation as long as you can, with a smiling mind. Not a mind that's trying to connive and think about other things and get distracted. Those are hindrances. With a peaceful, calm mind. Can that happen for you in this retreat? Yes. As long as you follow the directions. Don't get caught up in what you I should be doing this, I need to do that. Don't get caught up in the hindrances. The hindrances are anything that pulls your attention away from your object of meditation. What's your object of meditation? Hopefully it's radiating loving kindness. And you'll get into deeper and deeper states naturally by itself. Now, there's people that have been doing meditation for a long time, and they get kind of caught in doing the meditation they used to and don't use the formula of the 6 R's enough. And sometimes you can go very deep in absorption concentration. But that doesn't lead to Nibbana. Why? Because the force of the concentration suppresses hindrances from coming up. And hindrances aren't your enemy. If a hindrance comes up, there are certain states that you can get into the meditation where your mind is just peaceful and calm. But you'll be able to see little movements of mind's attention. And if your mindfulness is good, and your awareness is there, not absorbed in something else, you'll be able to catch that and relax and then come back to that peaceful, calm mind. It's really fairly easy, but it takes practice to be able to do it. And a willingness to let go of any other kind of practice that you've done in the past. You can only do one practice at a time. You don't want to be mixing, well, I remember one time that I did this. On the in-breath, I sent out loving kindness. On the out-breath, I let go of suffering. Well, that doesn't work. So just follow the directions as they're given. Don't add or subtract anything else. So I've been talking for a real long time, actually. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
The sutta that you were reading, the way you read it, it sounds like they're doing loving kindness meditation.
They don't talk about the object of meditation, but they're talking about this kind of meditation.
So they're talking about when the radiance goes away.
Right.
So that's
That means the clarity of minds, your mindfulness is sharper.
Oh, so that didn't mean necessarily the act of radiating.
No.
Okay, that's
Right.
okay. So it's the radiance and what other?
Object of meditation.
And the object of meditation.
Right. This is such a natural process. Don't push. Don't resist. Don't try to control. Allow everything to be there, but don't keep your attention on it. Let it be, relax, and come back to your object of meditation. Easy. That was one of the main complaints I had when I was in Malaysia this year. This is too simple. It's got to be more complicated than that. No, it's not. I saw on Netflix there was a series that was called Buddha. And it's from before he was born up until he died. The first part of it, the first part of his life is kind of boring to me. So I started thumbing through it till I got to when he became an ascetic and the different teachers that he saw. And after his awakening, there was a lot of Brahmins that were very highly educated that would come to him with these naughty kinds of questions, and he gave them such simple answers that's what they were saying. It's so simple the way he described things. It's not complicated, and it's not. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult because of your attachments and some of the things that you're going through. It's a little bit difficult, but you're purifying your mind the whole time. And it gets simple as you understand more and more deeply how this process works. And this is what you are teaching yourself. Teach yourself how these hindrances cause all of this suffering. Start letting them go. Don't make big deals out of anything. Anything you make a big deal out of, I am there. There's this pain. Yeah. So it really hurts. So? Well, I don't like it. Who? Who doesn't like it? Who wants to change it? Who wants it to be different than it is? Who wants to change their whole situation in life? I do. Mm-hmm. How much pain do you cause yourself?
Bhante, as we try to find this balance, I hear you encouraging gentleness and kindness.
Oh yeah.
And also encouraging us to relate to pain in a new way as we sit. And so I'm wondering, how do we know when to get up? How do we know when to continue on? And when to...
You need to sit no less than 30 minutes. When your meditation is good, stay with it. Don't get called off a good meditation because a bell rang. Okay? You can get food later. We'll put food on, we'll save food for you so that you can eat. But there's sometimes your mind will just say, okay, and you just get up. How do you know it's correct or not? Well, it's your choice right at that time. See, there's no such a thing as wrong meditation. There's wrong application of the meditation. I encourage you to sit longer. I encourage by the end of the retreat, probably half of you or more will be sitting at least 3 hours. And sometimes even longer than that. I had one lady that she was remarkable. She sat for 23 hours. But it was easy. She wasn't forcing herself into it. So, if it gets to be too difficult at a time, okay, get up and start walking. Walk for exercise. Now, I did 20 years of very slow walking, and I got no exercise, and I developed blood clots in my legs because of the way I was doing it. I don't want that to happen to you. So when you're walking, you stay with your object of meditation, whatever that happens to be. An interesting thing with this whole process is every time you go from one jhana to the next, it's a different kind of meditation because your experiences are different. And you start teaching yourself more and more as you go deeper how this process is really working. And you'll start to see more and more clearly the links of dependent origination. And you'll get to understand that after a little while. I'll talk about it much more. But you'll keep getting into more and more balance in your mind, more and more acceptance. If there's a sound that occurs, it doesn't upset you. It just kind of goes through you. It's just a sound. And you'll see that at certain levels. But I can't really answer that for you like it's a stock answer because it depends on you and what you feel like at the time. If you're starting to push, you have a hindrance come up and you're tired and you want to, I don't want to do this right now, then stay with your object of meditation and get up and start doing some walking so you can get your blood flowing again. Now, it's real important that the deeper you go and the longer you sit, the more exercise you need to get. And I recommend quite often for people to run up and down stairs. And I literally mean run up and down stairs so that your heart is really beating. And then when you stay with your object of meditation, whatever that happens to be, and you come back and you sit, your sitting is going to be good because you've picked up your energy and your mind is has more oxygen in it because you put that extra energy in. And your sitting could be very good. But let me warn you, when you have a good sitting and then you break it and you do your walking, don't think about what's going to happen with the next sitting. That's the longing. And you'll sit, you go, yeah, I'd like to have this retreat. I'd really like to have this happen again. That one desire will stop it. You can't compare one sitting with the next. You might have a 2-hour sitting, and then you come back and you start sitting, and it's appropriate just to sit for an hour. Okay, fine. But try to extend it so you can sit longer. By the end of the retreat, you will be able to. But if you have the expectation that your next sitting is going to be good, you can look forward to a restless mind. Why? Because it's not happening the way I want it to happen when I first start sitting, so I'm going to try a little bit harder. And then you get more restless, and then you go, well, this isn't working so well, maybe I'll try a little bit harder. And your mind just keeps getting more and more restless. When restlessness arises, it means you have an agitated mind. And the more energy you put into that, the more agitation you're going to get. So what you have to do is opposite of what you think you should do, and that's back off. Don't try so hard. Smile more. Laugh with yourself about how dumb your mind can be and want something to happen the way you want it to happen. Develop your sense of humor about yourself. And be kind to yourself. Don't be coming down on yourself. because that's unwholesome too. Okay? You have one, Paul? Okay. Another question? Yeah. Hi.
Could you speak a little bit more about the object of meditation and what that is opposed to that experience is like in beginner meditation?
Okay. No problem. The feeling of loving kindness is a warm, glowing feeling in your chest. It is a sensation. As soon as that's there, make a wish and feel that wish. Okay. Now, there's some people that they say you have to do these 4 wishes for doing the sitting. No. You just pick one wish. You know what it feels like to be happy? Then take that happy feeling, put it in your heart. Take your spiritual friend, put them right in the middle of that, and give them a heart hug. And stay with them and radiate that feeling as long as you can.
So your attention is sort of sustained on the physical feeling?
Yes.
As opposed to the thought?
Yes, absolutely. When you get to a certain place in the meditation, I'm going to tell you to let go of your verbalization in your mind. So you just bring up the feeling. Okay? But this is a process. At first you need to use the verbalization so you got it. And then after each jhana is a level of understanding. And you start understanding the process from the first jhana to the second jhana. And then you start getting more confidence because you can start, you feel like, yeah, I'm starting to get it. And you'll have more joy and happiness and things like that arising. And then as you continue on other things, you'll start to get more balance in your mind, and you'll notice that. So this natural process is not a verbalization process. It is a feeling meditation. That's why I want you to smile. Because when you're smiling, your mind becomes lighter. And with that, mindfulness is more clear. Okay? Mm-hmm. And yes.
It seems like any thinking causes tightness and tension in the mind. And my question is, sometimes certain tasks require you to do thinking work, and that you feel the tightness, and how do you deal with it?
The tightness is always caused by just one thing. Craving. So, use the 6 R's. That doesn't mean you can't do tasks. But I'm talking about for the retreat mostly. So you're not going to be doing too many tasks that need to be thought about. But you're teaching yourself enough when you do it this way that when you go out into the daily world, you won't have that tightness arising so much, and you'll be able to recognize it more quickly. So you'll be teaching yourself some great lessons. Okay? Yeah?
You mentioned walking for exercise. I'm wondering what your opinion is about stretching or yoga, things like that.
Can you smile while you're doing it?
Sure.
Okay. No problem. But the thing with yoga is generally it's a little bit slower kind of movement, so you don't have as much heart exercise. So if you're going to do yoga, I would say do it only one time a day, but when you're sitting longer, you need to get the blood flowing. So don't do yoga every time you want to exercise. Okay, but as long as you smile while you're doing it, I have no problem with that at all. Okay? Okay. So why don't we share some merit? May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty powers, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.